welcome to this special edition of Studio 5. Respect is now in theaters to high praise. So we thought we'd spend this entire half hour looking at the film through the eyes of its stars. And we'll begin with the actress and singer Aretha Franklin, handpicked to play the role. Here's a look at Jennifer Hudson at work and our Studio 5 conversation.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, take care, T-C-B.
So Jennifer, you were actually handpicked by Aretha Franklin to play this role. Do you have an early memory of her?
Wow, Aretha has always been there. So I can't say exactly what my earliest memory of hearing her music, but again, it's always been there for me. Maybe even unconsciously so. Like, I grew up in a church singing, and I didn't realize until doing research for the film how much her music was a blueprint in the gospel that we were singing in church. So she's always been there, even without me knowing it.
So from the early years to now, here you are portraying Aretha Franklin. How did you prepare emotionally, physically, and musically to become the Queen of Soul?
You first of all can't just wake up and say I'm going to be the Queen of Soul. It takes a lot of preparation. I work with amazing people in the production, such as dialect coach Tom Jones, acting coach Liesl Tommy. Everything played a role in that to develop the character of her. Also being able to know her as well and draw from that, which causes you to care that much more in your delivery of telling such a story. And then musically, that I feel like came first before anything, and is always the introduction for me. In any role that I play, music is always the introduction. So I kind of had a head start with that portion because I've always been a fan of Aretha as well.
As we know, the world shut down because of the pandemic, but now this movie is being released at a time that people can actually see it in the theater. What does that mean?
I am so excited to see Respect come to theaters and that it will bring people together. Aretha brought everybody together in her life through her music, so it's only befitting for everyone to come out to celebrate the Queen in theaters together, celebrating her life. So I'm so excited to see the world be a part of that celebration and honor her in the way she should be.
This film's director, Liesl Tommy, has a musical theater background, and I know you've done Broadway as well. What was she like as a director?
Liesl was like a huge key piece in the making and how Respect was made. I think bringing in her theater background and then her amazing direction and perspective gave the film its own unique elements to make it its own, which was necessary to tell the story of the Queen of Soul. She was a true musician, and it came from real life events, and I feel as though Liesl brought those real textures into it by adding real musicians to honor the Queen and allowing it to breathe in real time, which made it that much more authentic and very similar to how theater is done but brought to screen.
A big thing that you and Aretha Franklin have in common is growing up singing in the church. Talk about those similar paths that you two walked.
Oh my God, first of all, just being from the church and people knowing that as a Christian is liberating, and I love that. But for it to be said that both Aretha and I have that similar background is even more like beyond for me. But I think it was the most important factor in this whole thing. Her faith was important to have present in the film, and it was my faith that got me through the film to be able to do it. So that's the premise across the board, the bookends for both of us.
In this film, you show us Aretha at her lowest, but you also show us Aretha in some really joyful times. What did you take away when learning about that joy? What did it teach you?
Wow. You know, you love to see your heroes shine, and so to see, it's so much, it inspires me so much to see an icon, a legend, someone I look up to and still look up to, like the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, prevail and go after her dreams and succeed in that. from the treasure that's within her. That makes me want to discover my own that much more, and it increases my drive and hunger to want to do it. And that's the power of a role model and an icon such as Aretha Franklin.
And a reminder for you, Respect is in theaters right now, and we've got more of our Studio 5 Respect special still ahead.
When we come back,
oh, in a line.
Well, not us.
We're peeling back more of the curtain and going behind the scenes.
How would you describe the relationship between Aretha Franklin and her dad, C.L. Franklin?
With Academy Award-winning actor Forrest Whitaker.
I wonder, do you feel all right? Do you feel all right?
You love him, but because he loves so deeply, but he's like coming from a strict background.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back to this Studio 5 special look at the film Respect, the life of Aretha Franklin. And a key figure in that life is Aretha Franklin's dad and pastor, Clarence LaVaughn Franklin, known to most people as Reverend C.L. Franklin. Forrest Whitaker plays that role. Here's a quick look at him in action and our conversation with the Academy Award-winning actor.
We have nothing to fear, church. Because what is the right man compared to God?
Let's begin talking about the character you play, Reverend C.L. Franklin.
Oh, yes.
He was a preacher, Southern Baptist preacher. That's part of his definition. He was a family man. He had like a number of children. He was the first one who really started sort of almost like mega church behavior by like touring and putting 5,000 people in arenas to hear preaching. And he's also, very controlling. And at the same time, he can be abusive at different times. So she says this love, you love him, but because he loves so deeply, but he's like coming from a strict background, so some of that spills over into his family.
How would you describe the relationship between Aretha Franklin and her dad, C.L. Franklin?
I think Aretha was, he started her out really young. When she was like 11 years old, she started to go on the road with him. He asked her, they went from town to town to town to town to town. And he was controlling and just making all the decisions of her life. Continued onward until she got into her teens. And then the decision was made pretty much by CL to bring her to a record company. So he started to look for who he thought would be good for her, where she should be. And then when he gets there, when he's made this decision about Columbia, he then goes into, well, I don't want them to pigeonhole you. You can do all kinds of music. This is what I want to do, and this is what she has to do to become a star. And that's the way he saw it. I mean, he was trying to control the trajectory of her light or stardom.
What was it like working with director Liesl Tommy?
She's a director who really knows how to work with actors. I think she's probably from her training and her plays that she's directed as well. And so she's able to step into a scene and help find the right course. You know, many times I'll be trying to figure out is this the right direction, and then we'll talk about it. She'll like give me clues and stuff to that direction. And I've watched her work closely with the other actors. She's very meticulous. She's always coming in to try to elevate their work.
In doing this project, what did you learn about Aretha?
I didn't know so much about Aretha Franklin. I knew her, I've met her before. I just in passing, but I didn't know the different struggles that she was going through in order to give us this persona of this larger-than-life individual, someone who shines so high.
Jennifer Hudson went to great lengths to prepare for this, including learning to play piano. What did you see and think watching her work?
She's working really hard and doing a good job. I mean, you can see like the painting of Aretha being made, you know, through her on the stage. You know, it's pretty. I think she's amazing. And what about the work of Marlon Wayans?
We are very familiar with him as a comedian, but to see him playing such a serious side.
He also is like, you know, to show sides of himself that are really powerful. He's a good actor, and as we started to do the scenes more and more, we have a strong connect inside the scenes that we're doing. I think he's obviously has exceptional talent. He's like goes from comedy to something so serious as this, and able to carry off a pivotal role in the film in a great way.
What would you say is the theme of this film?
I think that the movie is really exciting and it's fun, so I think people will like it and be entertained and emotionally moved. And I think that on a core level, Aretha's going through a journey of abuse and addiction, and she's trying to find her way out of that. And ultimately, she finds her way out of that in the end, from her childhood to her midlife, up until when she passed away. I think for people to be able to say, I can pass by these pains and move into a new place, a new light, to me, is the kind of theme of the movie.
I wonder, do you feel all right? Do you feel all right? But then let's give my daughter Aretha another hand.
Now, this is not the first time we've seen Whitaker playing the role of a black preacher. You could say it is in his blood. As we continue this Studio 5 Respect special, we've also made this our Studio 5 snapshot.
We've shared the excitement surrounding Respect actually being shown in movie theaters, and cameras were on hand here at its premiere in Los Angeles, where the film's stars came out and posed for photographs alongside some of Hollywood's biggest names. It was an evening to remember and celebrate the Queen of Soul, who actually died 3 years ago this week, August 16, 2018. This celebration of her film and her life is this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. Still ahead in this Studio 5 Respect special.
No European tour.
Why not?
Because we have some TV dates we're trying to schedule first.
We watch comedian Marlon Wayans get serious.
5 minutes ago, you didn't even want to go on a tour. Now you got musicians lined up?
Watch your tone, Jerry.
This film does capture some really low points for Aretha Franklin, but it also captures a lot of joy for her. What is it about her joy that you would say inspires you? His answer when Studio 5 continues.
Having sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Welcome back to this special edition of Studio 5. Respect captures just one chapter of the Queen of Soul's life, and another key figure in that chapter was her husband, Ted White. Marlon Wayans played that role in the film. Take a look.
You look gorgeous. Now say it.
Do I look gorgeous?
You look gorgeous.
Some would say Aretha Franklin is the biggest voice of all time, and she is getting an opportunity to have her story told in theaters again. What do you think of that?
I think seeing this movie in the theater is a must. Because it's a theater experience. It's like going to see a Broadway musical. You have Jennifer, who's a big voice, playing Aretha, who's a big voice, and it's just a great experience. If it's anything like what I saw live when we filmed it, the audience is in for a hell of a ride.
We want original songs made for Aretha only.
So it's just a special movie about a special woman, and I just feel so blessed to be a part of this.
I'd like to take you out.
I'd like you to take me out.
Director Liesl Tommy has a big Broadway background in theater, if you will. How do you think that has influenced the production here of Respect?
Well, I think Liesl Tommy's background in theater really helped the experience of making the movie, because everything we did in the movie, especially musically, it was live. So all the instruments was live. Jennifer singing was live. Her rehearsing was live. Every day, we felt like we was in a Broadway play. And so I think she brought a Broadway play to the big screen. So it makes for a great live experience.
This film does capture some really low points for Aretha Franklin, but it also captures a lot of joy for her. What is it about her joy that you would say inspires you?
I'm inspired by her. I think what inspires me about her joy is that I know she went through so much. I learned so much doing the movie, and I learned how oppressed and suppressed that she was, that, you know, that she could pour herself into her art, and through her art, you know, become this legend. And also then empower herself and take it and strip others who abuse that power, empower herself, and then give that power and that light to causes that needed her, whether it be the civil rights movement, the women's movement. She just was a phenomenal woman.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Aretha Franklin.
And stick around, we still have one more voice to share in this Studio 5 look at Respect.
moments away.
I see an old family friend, Dinah Washington, is in the audience.
The queen of hip-hop soul, Mary J. Blige.
Dinah Washington was an influence on me through my mother.
Shares her role.
Honey, find music that suits you, that moves you.
In the Queen of Soul's story.
Introducing the CBN Bible from cbn.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible App. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
The Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible App. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Welcome back to this Studio 5 special. Another force in this chapter of Aretha Franklin's life was music pioneer Dinah Washington. It's a role brought to life by Mary J. Blige.
Honey, find the music that suits you, that moves you. Until you do that, you ain't going nowhere.
What can you tell us about Dinah Washington?
Dinah Washington was an influence on me through my mother, through my grandparents. I believe that my grandmother may have listened to Dinah Washington, and then my mom didn't play her as much as she played Aretha, but I experienced her through my mom and just other, older people, older women.
What was the biggest challenge of portraying this character?
Biggest challenge to play Dinah for me, I guess, was just to be so cold, just so cold-blooded to little Aretha, young Aretha, and to just constantly challenge a young girl.
Mary J., you're a queen musically in your own right. How did the Queen of Soul's music impact you?
My first memory of Aretha Franklin was my mom playing Bridge Over Troubled Water all over the house and playing Do Right Woman. And so my mom played Aretha Franklin. Like, my mom is a huge Aretha Franklin fan. So when I was a little girl, I heard a lot of Aretha in my home. And I was just always moved by just her voice and how it gave me chills, and how my mom would sing, kind of sound just like, not just like her, but you would want to sound like Aretha Franklin, when you were singing her songs.
You and Jennifer Hudson have a few scenes together. What was it like working with her?
Oh man, when I first heard that it was Jennifer, I was happy because that's a no-brainer. Like, Jennifer is an amazing singer. She has that thing in her voice like Aretha has in her voice, the anointing. She can sing anything. When I saw her in the dressing room, getting her makeup done, I actually saw Aretha. So I was like, oh, okay, this was a no-brainer. This was nothing to think about. And I'm sure Aretha would be happy.
And what about the director, Liesl Tommy?
Well, this is my first time working with Liesl, and I love her. I think she's a really powerful but warm woman, and she gives you the direction, firm and warm, and she knows what she wants, and she gets it pretty fast. And it's an honor to be working with her.
We certainly hope you've enjoyed this special edition of Studio 5. Before we go, we want to share something we are working on for next week.
God left his name as a memorial for generations to come.
An intimate Studio 5 sit-down with songwriter, producer, composer, music and choir director Donald Lawrence.
I shall not fear the arrow by day.
What brings us here today is your work, Goshen, and it being paired with dancers. Explain what's happening.
I created that work with the with the idea that I would take it to stage and create it as dance theater. So I actually did the album with that in mind, that it would be what I call a conceptual musical.
Now that's next week, but before we go, we want to give the final word to the director of Respect, Liesl Tommy.
Don't let nothing come between you and your music, Ree. Music will save your life.
Aretha Franklin was a soulful person who understood how faith could heal, and she put that into her music.
My daughter Aretha will bless us with song.
She brought that same intensity and that same love to her pop music. She reached a level of success that even she couldn't imagine. But Aretha's journey starts at the church and it ends at the church. With her album, Amazing Grace, she finds her way back.
This album is for God. I have to do this.
Before the day I met you.
Aretha's legacy plumbs the depths and the highs of humanity. And she tells us that every part of being a human being is okay.
That is a great final word for this special edition of Studio 5 and this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching.